Welcome back to Data in Action. Today we are addressing the BI challenge that swarms every enterprise. We are going to show you how AI is finally brings a strategy and structure to your data visualization efforts. To help us unpack all of this, I'm joined by Henrique Souza, VP of Data and AI Consulting at NIX. Henrique, welcome.
Hi, Rostislav. I'm really happy to be here. This is a topic that's close to every data leader's heart because we are constantly working to keep reporting and data governance under control.
Why do companies create so many reports in the first place? It seems like every department has its own version of the truth.
I think that the problem is really comes with a very natural, almost a tribal evolution. Reports are often born to tackle immediate short-term needs. So, for example, some reports, they had to create a different version of the same report just to add another column. Some reports are built to solve or to analyze like an urgent problem in the organization. Some others are created for a specific pitch, presentation, to help selling some products. So what happens that what starts as a strategic asset starts to become sometimes a technical debt. So that's something that we need to tackle and need to address from time to time.
But what is the actual long-term problem of having hundreds of slightly different reports?
Yeah, I think the two main problems that it causes. The first one would be like the erosion of trust. We start to have multiple versions of the same information, the same facts. And the second problem is increasing cost of maintenance. So if we focus on the first problem, like erosion of trust, we start having, because we have so many reports, so we may start having data quality issues, and we may start having same reports presenting the same KPIs, but with slightly different numbers. In terms of maintenance, I think that's an obvious problem. So if you have like 10 reports, then 20 reports, then 50 reports, you need more people to support them. You start having more bugs and more maintenance on each one of them. If we connect both problems, I think one of the other problems that it creates is slow decisions. People don't know what's true, so it slows down decisions down the road.
So, how do companies start fighting back against this reporting chaos? What's a practical first step for tackling this challenge?
I will highlight three of them that I think for me are the most important. The first one would be data literacy. So companies need to invest more and more on educating information workers to understand not only what are the reports available, but what's the underlying information, what's the underlying data, and how to use it, how to analyze it. A second way to tackle this is basic report rationalization. So from time to time, as we need to do with any technical or even physical asset, you need to understand what are the important assets to maintain, what are the ones that you need to retire, what are the ones that you need to decommission. But now I think there is a third option that can also help solving this problem, which is the usage of self-service solutions. So as I mentioned before, like some reports are built out of urgent or short-term needs. And with self-service solutions, you basically give access to people to the underlying data through some new interface. This essentially removes the need for a new report. So people will be able to get the answers, get the data they need without a new report, basically being able to use self-service tools that are connected to underlying data.
Yeah, that brings us perfectly to the next phase. Until recently, the self-service meant complicated query tools. What are the new possibilities that Gen AI is bringing to the entire BI space?
Yeah, I think in generative AI, of course, is creating an impact on many different parts of the industry. One interesting solution that generative AI gives us, one capability that it allows us is to do what we call text to SQL. So generative AI can help we to get a business question like in plain English and translate into SQL code, which is the code that's executed on the underlying database or data warehouse. And I think that's the first phase. So that is what allows us to give this more powerful self-service tools to our users. But SQL language as a tool just provide the users with a table result. So it's a tabular result that's not very interesting. But also generative AI allow us to create powerful visualization from this data. So that's something that we're going to be touching as well in a bit more details. But many tools are already incorporating these on their feature set. And I think the third capability that generative AI gives us is also the opportunity to find patterns and provide recommendation. So it's not only about presenting a table or presenting a chart, but it's also analyzing the data and coming up with recommendation of what should I do based on that data. Should I change a product? Should I change like my sales team? Should I invest on a new market? So that's a third possibility, a very powerful one that generative AI enables. All the let's say traditional business intelligence providers or vendors, they are investing heavily on generative AI. So just to give you a few examples, so for example, Databricks is developing a tool called Genie. Snowflake is implementing a similar solution called Cortex, which also enable this self-service, allow like for business stakeholders to ask questions in plain English to the underlying data warehouse that these companies are building. But other vendors are investing in these tools as well. So, for example, Microsoft is integrating copilots into Power BI, and also Amazon is integrating new generative AI capabilities into QuickSight. But the idea of these tools is the same. So it's providing, in a way or on another, like the three capabilities that I mentioned before. So exploring data, like going from business questions to SQL, providing with rich visualization, and also some of them are already providing the third capability, which would be like having generative AI generating recommendations and providing actionable insights for business stakeholders.
And how do we see companies start to adopt these tools? Are they going all in or starting small?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as any new technology, there is also like an adoption curve. I would say that most companies are still in an exploratory phase. And that's why even at NIX, we invested on a tool that we're calling Report IX, which essentially is our accelerator to provide tools with quick wins. So we can deploy this tool and we can connect with the underlying data sets. So we can provide users some examples. We can help to get educated on using these new capabilities before they investing, before they first of all prove the return on investment, and then they can buy like these tools that I mentioned before and provide license for a larger audience.
Enrique, as we look to the near future, how will the user experience change? What do you think? What does the BI interface looks like in the 2 years?
Yeah, I think the future will really be connected to this conversational interface that we are experiencing as part of generative AI trends. And I think the main change in the user experience will be first of all like huge democratization. So it will be much more accessible for users of different skills to analyze and to understand complex and even larger data sets than before. And I think we're also likely to see many AI pilots integrated. So not only on the tool that I mentioned before, but on your Excel, on your worksheets, on essentially any tool that manipulates data, we're likely to see more and more AI agents providing recommendations, supporting information workers on their day-to-day.
Yeah, that's a powerful final takeaway. The foundational work always pays off. Enrique, thank you for the great breakdown. To our listeners, are you ready to simplify your reporting and make your data perform? At NIX, we specialize in developing a unified AI BI strategy. Book your free consultation for an AI BI strategy assessment using the link in the description. That's it for the episode of Data in Action. See you next time.